What's going on, guys? My name is Chandler Smith, and we are going to be talking to Jack, who is the right-hand man for Graham, and we're going to talk about how he got involved with Graham and what it takes to take such a elite position. And so make sure to buckle down, enjoy the show, and with that said, on to the interview podcast talk.
I like the interview podcast talk. That's perfect.
Awesome.
So, I'm just going to jump right into things. First off, guys, this experience being on the Iced Coffee Hour has been incredible. One, because Graham is freaking awesome, and I kind of idolize him a little bit. Like, I watched his channel. It was one of the channels that inspired me to say, hey, I need to start a YouTube. And so that was really cool to get to hang out with him just in a chill setting, talk for couple hours about real estate and sales and YouTube and all that good stuff. However, I think one of the funnest parts, if not the funnest part, was hanging out with you before the podcast, getting to know you. We like dove in deep. We were talking life, we were talking real estate, we were talking kids, family, future, all of that stuff. So that was a blast.
And really he's a smart guy. Aside from real estate and just being a lucrative investor, he's a smart guy. He's got good priorities. You guys should really listen to him.
Well, thank you so much. It means a lot. But I think the one thing that I loved is every story I've seen, there's always a massive struggle at the beginning and a lot of sacrifice and not a lot of income to get to the point that they're at. And you were the only one that was able to go from not knowing Graham and just being a fan to now literally being his business partner on the podcast. So I want to start by just asking you how you were able to pull that off.
Yeah, absolutely. And since I'm such a tech guy at heart, I'm just going to double check to make sure this thing is recording. I'm so scared. It is not easy. It is.
I made you nervous not being able to see the screen.
I know, we're good. Okay, sure. So just from the top?
Yeah.
So basically, I was working at a job that I did not like at all. I was a busser at a restaurant. It was okay in the beginning, but then I really started to distaste it after it had been like a year and a half and there was no upwards momentum. It's hard working a job where you can't scale it and you can't go up, you know?
Yeah.
So after working at that job and trying several different business endeavors, I tried drop shipping and I tried a bunch of like other random side businesses that you'd watch Nate O'Brien post about on his YouTube channel. None of them worked to a great success.
Come on, Nate.
Yeah, no, this is nothing against Nate O'Brien. Okay, he's a great guy, amazing guy, but nothing really worked for me. And I was so done with my job, and I wanted to do anything else. So I shot my shot with Graham Stephan, and I was a huge fan of his channel. I grew up learning about investing, loving investing. I'd been investing in the stock market since I was maybe 12 with a custodial account. Very, very fortunate that my parents were there to teach me about the ins and outs of the stock market. And I started watching his channel and I loved what he was doing. And I saw his lifestyle and it was a lifestyle I wanted to live. You know what I mean? It's like you don't need to, you can live modestly, make a good amount of money, and I don't know, you don't need to spend it all and be frivolous with your spending. So I really respected what he was doing, and it was like, I was thinking like, this resonates with me, and this is exactly who I want to be. So I kind of idolized him in a sense, and that really encouraged me to shoot my shot, and I sent him an email with reasons why, he should bring me on board. And I put references and, a couple other achievements that I had. And actually it was multiple emails. So I don't know how many people know this, but it was multiple emails. I think an Instagram DM. I mean, I reached out on a lot of platforms over the course of maybe 2 months. And then finally, only because of luck, honestly, like, I'm not going to say this is because of like any crazy accomplishment that I threw in the email that I sent him or anything like that. It was just luck. It's like Graham he felt overflowed with the amount of work that he was doing. And there were some certain tasks that he shouldn't have spent his time doing. There were just some mindless like copy pasting, like filing and stuff like that he really shouldn't be doing while he's running such a huge business at the head of everything, So it was just luck that he needed help with some of that stuff. And I was just right place, right time. And he selected me and I offered him free labor. And the reason why I offered it free is because if you were to pay me, $10 an hour, $12 an hour, I felt like the relationship that I was building with him it would have been such as like a gardener or something like that. where that is the position that I work at, and that is where I am stuck at. It is a minimum wage employee. So I wanted to show him my dedication by working for free. So I worked for free for what seemed like for a long time while being a full-time student and also while working at another job, which I did not like very much. And that was basically it. I worked really, really hard. Like I put in I want to say 3 straight 14-hour days of free labor, just doing it was like some gnarly stuff, just so boring. It was so boring, but I was so excited.
You were committed.
I was so excited because first of all, I idolized Graham, and he called me on the phone. I remember he called me, and I was sitting in the car with my girlfriend at the time, and he called me, and I didn't have his number yet. So I answered it, and he's like, "Hi, this is Graham." And I was like, "Oh my God." And it was so embarrassing. And then it was like, "Oh, hey man, how's it going?" I literally yelled, and he was like, "Oh, hey." And
you're like, "I'll dump my girlfriend right now if you want me to."
Yeah, no kidding, dude. No, but basically I was totally fangirling, and I was so excited to do that work. I didn't care that I wasn't being compensated for it. I was just so dedicated because I really believed in the work that I was doing. And because of that, I've been able to build an amazing relationship with Graham. And I've been working with him now for about, I want to say, coming on 2 years, I've been working with him. And a lot of that time was for not very much money. And I think that showed Graham that I'm in it for the long haul. And I want more out of this than just a big paycheck. You know what I mean? It meant something to me to be, helping educate people about finances and stuff like that, and to be doing something that I felt like I wasn't capable of doing.
I love that. Now, I'm going to make a plug here. If you think you're even half the human Jack is, and you like me and live in Idaho Falls, I need a Jack so bad. And not because I want someone to work for free, but we were talking about this, just the value you've brought to Graham and to his channel, and having someone that, can help fill in the gaps, because I know I'm at a place where I'm drowning with a lot of my stuff, but finding someone like you that's willing to be dedicated to his channel, his brand, to work extra, to make sure that stuff gets done properly, to figure out how things work. It's so hard to find someone like that. And if I could, I would hire them right now, but that's the hardest part, is finding someone that is willing to do what you did. I think the other thing I wanted to point out is I've never met someone that starts and immediately is uber successful, right? There's always this, Gary Vee talks about eating shiz for a while, but it's a true principle. You've got to go through a time period where you're not getting paid what you're worth, but you will, because you're going to acquire the skill set or the relationship or other things. And I guess this isn't my way of saying I want someone to come work for free for me, but it is a unique way to find someone that really is in it for the right reasons, and someone you can count on. And I think Graham probably thinks similarly to me, where once you find that person, they're worth whatever you need to pay to keep them happy. But it's finding that kind of a person.
It's tough, man. I've hired people. I don't want to go into too much detail, but I've hired several people now, and I feel like they just can't mirror the same enthusiasm that I saw in myself when I first started working, for Graham. It is difficult, yes, but I think that you are right in the sense, if they're willing to do, crazy amounts of work for free, then it really does show that maybe to them it's more than just getting a big paycheck. It's they believe in what they're doing, and it's honestly, I would way rather make $60,000 doing meaningful work and being proud of what I'm doing and knowing I'm making an impact than making $200,000 and doing something that I feel like isn't contributing to a greater cause.
Yeah, totally. Well, the other thing too, I know right now it's Graham first with the podcast, with his channel, with all the stuff that you do with him. But now that you've worked up to where you're at, where do you see this going? What is the evolution for you?
It's tough because I feel like I want to be innovative. I created the Graham Stephan private mentorship group thing for him, and I loved doing that, and I loved building that. But then you get to the point where you feel like it's hard to scale. You know what I mean? And I loved building the podcast, and I still love being on the podcast. But I think that now it's getting to a point where it's like we're kind of getting up there with like the maximum amount of views that we can get within our audience demographic. You know what I mean? And I love just like building things and innovating things. I would love to come up with just like a new business idea. And I know Graham would probably say something like, he's like, oh, you should just focus on the things that you have built up. You focus on the podcast, focus on the mentorship group. And believe me, like I love doing it, and it's awesome. But maybe I should be focusing more on those things, to be honest. But I just know within myself, I love creating things. It's so fun for me.
Yeah, no, I love that. Well, the other question I have to ask you, first off, it's been fun for me to see your drive, the role you play on the channel, how much help you play with titles, thumbnails, all of that stuff with Graham's stuff. But with that being said, you're this silent partner that not a lot of people know about. So I want two things, and you can share them in the order you want. But one, I want the dirt on Graham, like the stuff that people want to know, the behind the scenes.
Okay, sure.
But I also want that for you, like the role that you play on the channel, and what your goals, your plans are. Are you going to invest? Are you a stock guy? Are you a real estate guy? So I just gave you like a lot to talk about, but maybe start with the Graham stuff, and then let's hear more about you.
Sure. So any dirt on Graham? If you're Graham, go ahead and turn this off. No, to be honest, there's not a lot of dirt on Graham, and I'm not just saying this because he is, my employer and I want to, appease him or anything, but I was truly amazed when I first met him. Like he really is a genuine guy. Like who he acts on camera is really who he is. And he was never afraid to act like himself. Even I remember the first time I met him, we went out to get some food at a restaurant. He didn't order for himself. He ordered for me. And only for me, because he didn't want to spend the money on himself. Like that literally was it. Like he got a burger and I was like, I got a burger and I felt bad getting the burger because I was like, oh my God, like he isn't ordering anything for himself. Does he just want to pay for me because he can't spend the money? It's like, he is genuinely frugal. He is, whether that be extremely frugal, whether that be a good or a bad thing. He is a good guy. And the great thing about working with Graham, and I kind of figured this out pretty early on, and I'm very fortunate to have figured it out so early, is that I know for a fact that he will never leave me hanging. You know what I mean? It's like, I know for a fact that whatever work I put in, he will always go above and beyond what I expect of him. So that's why I kind of figured in the beginning, it's like, I'm putting in all of this work. I kind of figured out who he was from an early, stage. And I knew that although I was working for free and these crazy hours and for so long, I knew for a fact that he would not be someone to just leave me in the dust and abandon me after knowing that he saw all of this dedication and passion in me. Yeah.
Yeah. So I asked for dirt and you literally did the opposite.
It's hard to put dirt on someone that you admire.
I think the reality is that's why you're Graham's guy. And I think that is so cool. And it's so cool what you guys have done. Let me ask you this. What's kind of your vision for the podcast? And then to kind of wrap this video up, what are your goals? Obviously, the podcast is growing. You're making substantially more money now than you have in the past. And so tell me what you see or where you see yourself at and the podcast at over the next year or two.
Sure. So for the podcast, I'm so excited for the podcast. I really do love the podcast. It's difficult because I love participating in it and I love having dialogue and conversation and meeting new people, but I haven't yet decided if I want to be some sort of like public figure. You know what I mean? I think that is actually it's a worthwhile thing to think about, and to think if you want to go that route where you try to be a public figure, or if you don't, you want to be the person behind the camera and the person no one knows about. And I haven't really made that decision yet. It's like, growing up, I always wanted to be an entertainer. I loved the idea of it. I have videos on YouTube that we shall not speak about because I wanted to be a YouTuber. I really did. But now as I've gotten older, it's like, I don't know if that's my main priority, is to be someone in front of the camera,
Right.
As far as the podcast, I love growing it. It's so fun. I'm I'm not gonna lie, it's paying me pretty well. So that definitely, money does motivate me. Yeah, and it's nice because I know whatever I put in, I'm getting out. You know, so I also appreciate that with the podcast. And I will say, meeting new people is honestly, I love doing it. It's so fun, and everyone that I've met has exceeded my expectations. Yeah.
I wanted to ask you two things. One, who has been the most impressive person that you've had on the podcast? Like someone that altered the way you viewed things. And two, if there's a one person you could get on the podcast, who's like your dream guy to get on it?
Wow, those are great questions. I really want to think about my answer for these. So I will say Gary, the Pokemon guy, he reminds me of like the grandpa that everyone wish that they had.
Just super likable.
My grandpas are amazing and I love them so much. And I think one of the reasons why I admire Gary so much is because he reminds me of my grandpas who I admire so much. He is the sweetest person I think I've ever met. And it's like, it literally warms my heart. Like I feel so weird saying that because I'm not someone who would say that, but like, that's the effect that he had on me. I haven't really talked to Graham about this, but he is like the sweetest person in the entire world. And you know, he can do no harm.
And he
ever
owns like how much worth of Pokemon cards?
A lot. And I'm so happy. I'm so happy that he has like wealth and abundance because
he deserves it.
Yeah. You know how there are some people that like, you're so happy that they're in a good position. Yeah. That's like exactly the way I felt towards Gary. He's the sweetest man ever. So kind.
I have to go watch that one.
No hate at all in his heart. Just an amazing guy. And he does a lot of work for charity, which I respect that so much. And I think he's just got great priorities, which I also admire. People with good priorities, I think is just, it's impressive.
Well, now I feel bad because I literally skipped watching that one. I watched the one before, the one after.
That's okay. It's not for everyone.
Well, it's just I'm not a Pokemon guy at all, but I'm going to have to watch it because everybody, what I've come to find, even if it's a craft I personally don't like it's their craft. And
yeah, he definitely is very passionate about it. And it's always fun, to see people's passion, even if it's not something you're particularly passionate about. But aside from him, I will say someone who did have a big effect on me would be Nate O'Brien. Yeah.
That was cool. Just the way he views life or money or?
I think he reaffirmed a lot of what I inherently believe, which is like, never take things too seriously, know when to grind, when not to grind. I just really appreciate his lifestyle. It's like he has no desire to be ultra famous, ultra wealthy or anything. He just wants to be happy. Yeah.
That's really cool. I've noticed that with him and just the way that he approaches it. He's very much like he does what he needs and he's happy with that.
He does what he wants and what he wants causes no harm to anyone else. So that's amazing. Yeah.
Now, one person that you would like to get on the podcast, who would be the huge fish that it would be so cool to land?
Are you asking as in like who I think would do amazing for the podcast or someone that I just like my number one person in the entire world?
Yeah, like I'm trying to think for me, maybe like a, sit down with Tony Robbins type deal. Like I think that would be really cool to.
If I could have a guest on the podcast, because I think it would do well for the channel and I think that Graham would really appreciate this. And obviously I would too. It'd be incredible. Would be Elon Musk. That would probably be the one.
That would be really cool.
But if it was someone, this is outside of the scope of the podcast and everyone's I don't think people are going to hate that I say this, but it's just so on a tangent. It's
Joe Rogan?
No, it would be an artist, like a musician that I just absolutely love. And that would be it. But
which one?
His name is Rex Orange County.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You could probably make that happen. Graham probably.
I really couldn't. No, he's pretty popular, but he means a lot to me.
That's really cool.
I love music and I grew up loving music. I grew up listening to like the Beatles, Stevie Wonder, a bunch of stuff like that, Elton John. And for some reason, his music resonated with me so much and he helped me through some pretty interesting times in my life. And I owe a lot of where I'm at right now to him. And it's so nice to have something that you can put on and immediately brings color to your life. And I think that's what he, supplies for me.
That is really cool. knew there was more to that.
It's
I'm
not
gonna have to
necessarily
listen-
music. It's
So,
not music. It could be anything else. It could be a television show
I'm
for
gonna
someone
have
else.
to find this though, because now I want to listen to his music.
Sure. I mean, it's not for everyone. For me, it was just so interesting. His voice is really interesting, and it compelled me to listen to more of him. And it's a rabbit hole. Once you
So
start
Rex
listening,
Orange County.
yeah. If you do queue up anything, I encourage you to check out Pluto Projector, and you got to listen to it all the way through.
Sweet. Of his top 5 songs, that's the only one that's not explicit.
Oh, is it not?
Yeah,
Wow,
look at
amazing. I'm not a huge fan of swearing. I don't swear.
I don't either. Yeah, unless it is very, very good for humor. then
Yeah, that would be an
sometimes,
exception.
Like, and not big ones. I don't use big ones, but like
Yeah.
the little ones are funny sometimes.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, you got it. Yeah, you're right.
All right.
Why don't you swear? I want to know that.
So I kind of growing up was just the good kid that didn't swear. So I really internalized that. I think I've evolved a lot later in life when it comes to the confidence factor, but I always took pride in being very humble, hardworking, and just good, you know? So I don't know. Once you kind of brand yourself as that, it's nice to be the guy that doesn't swear. So later in life, I literally didn't, I wouldn't swear at all, not a single word, until the last probably year or two, when sometimes it's funny. I'll let the little ones slip in. But
Yeah.
that's just because I like humor and making people laugh, and I feel like hearing me swear probably sounds funny because I haven't done it my whole life.
Probably
so.
does. Yeah, it probably does.
But literally, I've never said the F word my whole life.
You have not.
Never. The big ones, I just...
Wow, that's impressive. I'm very impressed. Good job. Good job. One thing I also want to know, if you wanted to be good and everything, although this may not constitute something that is, directly or objectively good, some people just think so. I want to know what your opinion is on alcohol and drugs. Have you ever?
I have not done either ever. Yeah. So...
That's amazing.
Yeah,
And why not?
I think originally, that's how I was raised, and it was tied to religious beliefs, but also the more I did it, the more I recognized that, and I'm still this way. I use caffeine when I need to, but I don't like using things that help me act in a certain way, because I like my normal to be good. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And I feel like even with caffeine, when I use it, then sometimes my normal is lower than usual because you need caffeine. Does that make sense?
It makes 100% sense.
So I like staying away from that stuff.
I never got that way towards caffeine, but maybe that's because I never saw an actual effect on caffeine.
Yeah.
Like it never.
I
I'm
was
sure
the
that you drink
same-
tea and stuff, right? Which has caffeine.
I don't. Yeah.
Have you ever had caffeine?
I have with energy drinks. That was the one like Achilles heel when I was working
Yeah.
out. And I noticed I'd get super hyped for working out, but then I'd have a big
Crash.
drop off. And so I've really tried to get away from it. But like today, when I'm running on 3 hours of sleep for this podcast, I
treat yourself?
need some caffeine because I know it'll get me where I need to be, but I hate it because I know I'm going to crash hard after.
Yeah. That's interesting. Yeah, I was the same way. I've never done anything aside from drinking alcohol, which was a big step for me. And I did that, it was like 4 or 5 months after my 21st birthday.
Yeah.
So it wasn't even on my 21st. Yeah, I just got sushi with my mom and my girlfriend at the time.
Yeah. No, that's cool. I just think it's neat when you can be someone that you're always under control of the way your body works and acts and all of that, because the more of that stuff you're involved in, then when you do have hard times, when it's hard enough to figure out how to keep yourself happy, those things make it way more difficult, in my opinion.
We are one in the same. We are one in the same. That is exactly what kept me from doing that stuff for such a long time. It wasn't even necessarily pressure from my parents. My parents would have been totally okay with it. I went to UCSB, come on, which is like, it's been recorded as the #1 party school in the country, and I didn't do any.
Yeah.
It wasn't necessarily pressure from my parents. It was just like the control thing. Maybe some could call me a control freak, but not necessarily like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it was also, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think it's so funny. This has been a really cool experience for a couple of reasons. One, sitting down with Graham, I've always watched from a distance, and I feel like we've had lots of similarities in the way that we view money, in the way that we've invested, in the way that we've done different things. And so being on his podcast, it was really cool to see those similarities, see some of our differences. He's definitely held to frugality a lot more than I have. But with you, it was really cool because it's rare that you have people where I feel like there's a pretty instant connection. And this video is going to be different than most of my stuff where it's just real estate, sales, whatever. But just a lot of views on life. It's been cool to see similar things in life, family, future, and differences. But I do feel like this has been awesome to see the inside look of the role you play in Graham's business and the kind of human you are. And there's a reason that things, it's like you said, it's fun to see good people be successful. And that's been really fun for me with both you and Graham in this experience.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And I will say the exact same thing to you. You positively affirmed every, assumption that I had about you. And I'm so happy to meet you and very fortunate to have you on the podcast.
Well, thank you. Well, maybe we broed out a little too hard here at the end.
I know. Cut this out, man. This is not cool.
Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. We don't have Graham here to force you to push the like button, but maybe you can get him to do it maybe a little bit.
Guys, please. One like means that we are just that much happier, okay? Smash the like button for the YouTube algorithm. Thank you so much for watching. We really appreciate it.
Nailed it. Thank you so much, guys. And hopefully you enjoy videos like this. I love talking sales. I really love talking real estate, helping you to build a huge passive income. But I have come to find that the people you surround yourself with and their views and the people that are successful in doing the right things, the more you interact with them, the more that it kind of raises your vision. And that's been the experience I've had here. And hopefully you guys get a little bit of a taste of that from the Iced Coffee Hour, which you need to go and watch, and this video. So thank you so much and have a great day.